I'd like to welcome to this interview Grace Elizabeth Harvey, who is a singer-songwriter based in Merseyside and who has her debut EP coming out in May.
Hey.
Hello. So why not tell me a little bit about how you sort of got into songwriting? Have you always written songs from a young age, or has it changed over time?
I think I always tell this story because I think this is the first time I properly tried to do it. I have always written poetry, that was what I was into first, and then our English teacher, Emma Howard, was the person who was she would read my poetry and give me feedback, and she said, you should try songwriting because I also did like singing, and she showed me Laura Marling. And ever since then, I've been obsessed with Laura Marling and songwriting.
So, the point of these interviews is to sort of discuss creativity, motivation, and sort of your reasons for choosing a more unconventional lifestyle in a way. So, what motivates you basically?
I think curiosity. I'm going to say that again. I think curiosity motivates me. I'm always been someone who tries lots of new things and has loads of hobbies. So I think I have a natural interest in learning about things and trying, new things, which often comes out through a creative outlet. And I'm not quite sure why it comes out through a creative outlet. And that's sort of a mystery. But I mean, it must be to do with something, with my influences, being introduced this sort of, this practice and this area of culture by someone that I admired, then led me to value that and then to develop a skill where I could also express myself through that medium. Really, really interesting question. I don't really know.
Do you find songwriting therapeutic?
Yeah, I think so. In a way that I find meditation therapeutic, or recently I've got some tarot cards and I've been doing that. And I think it's just these ways they're modes of reflection and pausing on something, and untangling something, some sort of feeling or thought, in a more of a subconscious way. So yes.
Has the theme of your songs changed much over time, or would you say there's one constant underlying idea or feeling that you're always going for?
Yeah, I think definitely over the past 2-3 years. But when I was a teenager, they were all about love. That was the most I could fathom, the most depth I could get to. And I was also obsessed with relationships and love in general. But I think, over the past 2-3 years, even if I wasn't writing explicitly about philosophical, curious things, I think I was trying to. I've always had that feeling that there's a sound I want and there's something I need to get to, I need to scratch this itch, right? And I think I'm finally have the skills and the insight to do that. So I think I've been trying to write the same songs, but it's taken a while.
Sure. How important do you think is would you say routine is for you creatively?
So I have no routine, no creative routine, and I just did a songwriting course with Laura Marling. She's my idol. I guess it seems I just talk about it all the time, and she was saying that she's accepted that she's not an artist who has a routine, and that's okay. It's her wisdom, or maybe how long has she been in the industry? 10 or more than 10 years. Her wisdom on that front validated the fact that I also don't have a routine, and I don't think anything good would come from me having a routine, because because curiosity motivates me, right? You can't make curiosity into a routine. it has to come to you, or like things have to come to you. Like one thing Laura Marling said was she doesn't give people books, like she doesn't recommend people books because books have to find people, which I find is really interesting because it's true. Like, you know, things feel special and valuable because you find them, like you come across them.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah. So do you ever go through periods of like not writing for a while then, or like how difficult is it to write a song? Is it always quite straightforward, or?
I definitely go through periods where I write like full songs and other periods where I might write more fragments. Like I think I always am writing, which is cool and good, but it's like sometimes I do feel bad at writing. Do you know what I mean? Like definitely better at it sometimes and not as good. And it's the classic, like when I'm sort of hiding from my emotions, like I'm like being a bit avoidant about how I'm feeling, I find it harder to write.
Sure. You've got this EP coming out soon, and so, you know, there are many more parts to the singer-songwriter job than I guess it are apparent to someone looking at your Instagram or something. Like there's all the elements of trying to find a good producer, a good studio, and then there's all the promoting and all that sort of thing which has to be driven by you. Do you ever find that side of things difficult, or like do you ever lose motivation in that area, in all the other things that aren't songwriting basically?
Yes, I think I didn't really know how to do it until maybe the past year. Like my perspective on it is like it's such a gate-kept thing that I guess you learn when you go to like music, like market, like, you know, like music business degree, or like I guess some like conservatoires that where you study songwriting, they do it too. Yeah. But for anyone approaching it that's not in the industry, and it's the same for all creative industries, but yeah, that's such a barrier to like sharing music. But do you know what? It's always been like that. Like now it's online marketing, but back in the day, right, it was like finding someone to finance your music so you could go into a studio because like home studios weren't a thing. But I do it, and do you know what? I find it fine. I don't hate it, but the thing is like it's not consistent. Yeah. And if I had when people have a team and it's more consistent, that means more success. But because I'm like only in the beginning of my career, I don't feel as much like jaded anguish that I feel I would in like 5 years or something.
Do you know people who are like that? A bit more like that? Yeah.
Yeah, I think like being an independent artist for a long time just is so exhausting.
Yeah. That kind of makes me think about something that I think about all the time, which is what it means to succeed as an artist, and where success, like the boundaries lie. Where would you say success lies for you?
Yeah, so I was recently talking to like someone who used to be a manager, and just like he was sort of just giving me advice, and he was like, you have to before you sort of make any steps as like a creative person, as part of like, you know, approaching it like a business, like you have, you know, when you start promoting yourself, you need to define what you think is success, otherwise, you know, we won't get anywhere, I suppose. But for me, which is why I think I work in the genre I do, like folk, you know, like stripped back stuff, success isn't necessarily like being viral, right? It's not about like extremes. It's more just in writing, it is earning enough money from my creative projects that I can make more things and play more shows and meet more people and like be able to live a curious life, like be able to have freedom, creative freedom. I guess that's like ultimately what it is. But I also want the freedom to do other things that aren't music, right? Like I don't want to be touring all the time. I want to be able to, you know, I'm like a dog sitter half the time. So I want to be able to do that. I want to, you know, that's like success. Yeah. Not necessarily popularity, but like, yeah.
What's the sort of balance for you in terms of the more like introverted, reclusive side of being a songwriter, where you spend many nights, honing your craft in your bedroom, versus doing gigs and having people talk to you and come up to you? Because they're like very different elements of the. Like, does one motivate you to keep going with the other, or do you love them both in different ways, or?
I think it's a shame that I'm like really shallow, because I said to someone the other day that I write songs to perform them. Like, without the performance side, I don't think I would do it.
Yeah.
And I that's why, like, so I write my songs to perform them, not to record them. Like, the recording process is way more like unnatural and awkward for me. And that's why I try to find producers who will like capture the sound as organically as possible and like use completely organic and like acoustic sounds, with like some cool exceptions. But yeah, so I think I do the internal work to share. Like, I think sharing is a big part of it for me.
Do you sort of, if you've got a new song, will you use performance as a way of like testing it out and seeing how it feels in the room, seeing what people's reactions are like?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I think that's so valuable.
Yeah.
I studied English and philosophy at uni, and my dissertation was on performance poetry, and like philosophy of performance was my like big thing, and like still is. So I'm like fascinated by those dynamics and like all the arts, and I'm really interested in visual art too, and how like gallery space can influence how people like interpret artworks or like experience them. So yeah, that's like a really big part, and that's why most people start in like open mics, right, and then start doing gigs and whatever. But I really like still cherish open mics, but I'm very picky about which ones I go to. Like, there's one in Liverpool called the Belvedere, which you've been to too, and it's like this tiny room, and everyone listens. Because it's like you can only fit 10 people in the room, and it's unplugged, so you have to listen to everyone, and if you're talking, you're the odd one out.
Yeah, because I guess that the downside with a lot of open mics is that they're in bars late at night, where the bars want to make money by selling people drinks, don't they?
Yeah, they're just a way to get people in the bar rather than being like an actual like sharing experience. But yeah, I really like playing new songs actually. At the moment, I'm writing loads of stuff. Because I'm about to like let go of the EP, and I'm getting a bit bored of like just doing all the promotion stuff. So yeah, I'm currently writing really weird songs, and I love watching people react to them.
Weird in what way? Lyrically weird?
Yeah, and also like musically weird. Like I'm writing really unusual stuff at the moment, which I don't know if they're like solid, but I think they're really fun, and I'm sort of like trying to push the boundaries of like what feels right for me. You know?
Yeah, it's like, do you think that in sort of building the brand, Grace Harvey or whatever, you now have some sort of desire to like break out of it or something like that?
Yeah, maybe. That's true. I mean, I do quite like my songs that I'm like putting out right now. I think it's just like, I think even more like growing, like. And do you know what? I don't really have that fear yet because I'm not very successful. So it's like
the fear that you've got to be consistent.
Yeah, like it's not like I'm viral and like I have a really solid fan base who won't like tolerate any change. Yeah. So I think I don't know. It's just sort of like I think I'm like also a very like creative part of my life. Like I'm single. Like I don't have many commitments. So I sort of just have this space to like play around, and like that's translating into my songwriting.
Do you like the Liverpool scene?
Yeah, I really love it. So I'm from the Wirral, and I'm just moved to Liverpool.
Yeah.
To South Liverpool, and I love it so much. I just, in terms of music, like, yeah, it's like just such a great size. Like you're always discovering new artists, and like obviously Lipa's there, and like LMA and like some other music schools, and people like going to the uni, but yeah, it's a great community, which you know what, it is like quite male dominated in some spaces, but I think my circle of like friends who are musicians aren't like that, so I love it, and there's definitely a space for women, and lots of amazing women. Yeah
I know that you've done a couple of shows with a band before.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that you want to do again, or do you like the sort of doing it on your own thing?
Yeah, I really don't know. I think that's the question for me at the moment, is like, what's my next project going to be? And I don't know if it's going to be like a band like project, or if it's just going to be more solo stuff. I mean, you know what? Like literally yesterday, someone said to me, this old guy said to me, you should think about playing more like energetic stuff. And I was like, I know what I'm good at, and I'm good at doing whatever this is, and this is what feels right. Like I'm not gonna, and like people are like, oh, you should have a band, like that would be more like attractive, and like people would, you know, more like engaging, and that makes me want to say no, I don't want to do that. I want to be a solo artist, and I love solo artists.
Yeah.
And like I love an intimate sound, and that's okay. So I don't know.
I think maybe there's like, the earlier you are in your career, the more people you'll get who, I don't know, think they have some control over, I don't know, you get people saying you should do this, you should do that, I don't know.
Yeah, no, completely.
Advice is always useful, but at the same time, yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting one.
I think there's a bias against like acoustic acts. I just do.
Yeah.
Just because they're not like money makers, maybe, and they're not like flashy and like, but
Yeah.
you know.
And maybe it's more vulnerable. It's more open, honest. And if you're on a night out somewhere, you don't really want that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know, you can't. Really
I know
get
that
lost.
feeling of like you see a really good singer and you're like 3 pints deep and you're like, I'm not in the best state to even be listening to this right now.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Like.
Yes, that's so true. Actually, like
know what I
bars
mean?
aren't necessarily the best places for this thing. Yeah.
Do you think there's like a
Late
utopian?
stage capitalism.
Well, yeah, sure. Do you think there's like a utopian singer-songwriter world where, because you mentioned the Belvedere open mic has been a really good example of one, and I'm always thinking about this, that like a lot of the problems with live music is that like going out culture gets in the way of live music culture. You know what I mean? And I don't know. There might be some alternate universe where we figured this problem out.
Yeah, so they can both coexist. I think it's just like seeing it like it's a social issue. It's not necessarily, I don't know. Well, okay, maybe it is actually, because like all the conversations I have with people about AI and like AI creating music and whatever, they always end in a sort of coming to an agreement that people who like independent artists and new music and like acoustic acts that like really authentic, like, you know, not electronic stuff that can not be done by AI very well, because there's no like aura, right? Like there's no like that you can just tell. Those people who have always liked that will always like that and will always pay to see a human rather than a robot or like a, you know, artificial intelligence. So I think that they can coexist as long as we like sort of just keep giving value and like creating spaces for it. Maybe it is about space, yeah. Maybe it's about like venues being open so people can perform. So then people can come and see it, you know. Or like maybe, you know, keeping the venues open so that ticket prices aren't as expensive, so people come and see it and support the artists to create more. I don't, you know. Is
it maybe, like, generally speaking, it's about sort of trying to, as much as possible, break it out of, like, a real capitalist way of looking at it that, like, I don't know. Because art, I don't believe that art can be, it's not a commodity in the same way as, like, a ham sandwich or something. You know?
Yeah.
Maybe it is. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I agree.
So
I agree.
You've got to have some sort of system in place for that.
Yeah, or it can't be like, it can't be. It's not like a quantitative thing, right? It's not like 5 songs equals like, the whole thing of getting paid for gigs is really interesting because it's like you're being paid to perform your art, but like how valuable is that art? Is it like how many people want to come see you? And like that's, you know, I don't know. That's why it's so overwhelming sometimes. Being like, oh, I need to be successful so that I can live, rather than like making
Is your what are your future plans? Are you going to stay in the area for a while, or are you going to Have you had any thoughts about that? Like what you might want to do?
Yeah, I don't know. I like briefly considered moving to London and then I changed my mind. Because I really love Liverpool, like and Manchester as well. I almost moved to Manchester. I think they're very valuable, and I don't see that changing. And also like affordable to live in, right? Like, it's ridiculous how much you have to pay just to be in London. Like classic, of course, but it's sort of just like, I don't know. That's, you know.
Yeah, I commend it massively. I think, I think that somewhere like Manchester is, I love it here. You know, it's so cool. It's just growing.
Yeah, well, they say that like Manchester's the new London, and it's already being gentrified, and people are like, you know, the rent's going up because people have, you know, will pay it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I do want to like go and live somewhere where it isn't the UK, but I don't know yet. I don't know.
Sure, you want to do a world tour at some point.
I don't know if I want to do a tour. I think I want to like live somewhere and like be part of a different community and like have a different perspective.
Yeah.
You know, I don't really like traveling, to be honest. It feels really shallow and like you can't really soak it in properly.
Yeah. Sure. So my last question is, what advice would you give to someone a little bit younger than yourself who, you know, writes songs and, you know, what would you say to them if they sort of interested in a similar lifestyle to you, way of doing things?
I think just like listen to what you want to do, like what you like. Because that could be pop music, right? Like that could be writing like massive hits and that's what you feel like you need to do. I think it's just about like listening to your intuition. But it's a complicated thing. Yeah.
Right, thank you very much.
Cool.
And
Thanks.
See you later.
Bye.
For the next one.